Happy New Year, Detroit Lions fans. It is January 1st, 2024, and that's right, we're talking about the final week, Week 18, the playoff scenarios, and the seeding implications for the games that are left to be played this week. Now, there's not a whole lot that the Lions can do at this point as far as moving up or down. There's a couple of scenarios, and that's what we're going to talk about today. And look, it's a new year. Let's try to move forward. I know it's difficult. We're all still struggling, from the pain that these refs have caused all of us. And it should have happened, but it is what it is. Unless Roger Goodell is going to enact NFL Rule 17, where in there it states that he can change the outcome of the game or have a game replayed at certain points in the game, nothing's going to change. And I think that's it. Nothing is going to change. We've seen this many, many, many times. It's unfortunate, just like Jared Goff said, and it's not right. So we're going to move forward. We're going to take a look at the playoff scenarios together. I saw some information come out today that I believe they misspoke. So I just want to ensure that everybody's on the same page here with what we can do for the rest of the regular season. I'm going to bring in the playoff machine from ESPN, and I can only go off of what this says, whether it's accurate or inaccurate. I think it's pretty accurate. So that's what we're going to roll with. Here we go. And I got a clear screen here. Let me just clear it one more time. So first game is Ravens and Pittsburgh. Look, the Ravens could be resting some players at this point. I still don't think that they're going to lose this game. A lot would have to go right for Pittsburgh for that to happen. So I'm going to give Baltimore the win. Doesn't really affect the Lions at all. Next game is Houston and the Colts. This could be a flexed option. I don't know if any information's already been released, but there is playoff implications for both of these teams. I think the Colts win at home. I don't think the Texans are going to get it done. I think that the Colts want to stay in the playoffs. They get it done. Look, Carolina hasn't played well all season. I don't think that changes this week. I think Tampa Bay goes in and knocks Carolina out. Browns, they're on a tear. They're on a roll. And look, we could see the two worst teams of the last 50 years, the Browns and the Lions, end up in the Super Bowl. And it's a possibility. It's a long shot. But, man, wouldn't that resurrect a lot of fan bases that have been dealing with a lot of ineptitude for a long time, and we're finally getting it right. So I'm taking the Brownies on the road against the Bengals. Next up is your Lions and Vikings. Clearly, I'm taking the Lions here at home. They are coming off of a wicked loss that shouldn't have happened, and they are pissed off, to say the least. I think they're going to go in and wreck some heads this weekend, and it's not going to be a close one at all. The next game up, we have Patriots and the Jets. Look, I think the Bill Belichick is going to win his last game there as the Patriots head coach, and Patriots get the win. Next up, we have the Falcons and the Saints. This is a toss-up. This is a tough one. Falcons run game, if it gets going, the Saints can't stop it. And if the Saints defense comes alive, the Falcons are going to have trouble, passing the ball. So with that said, I think I'm going to have to take the home team. It's a toss-up. It's a pick-em. I just don't know what else to do here. And there is playoff implications here. So with a win, the Saints could end up as a number 7 seed if other things go right. So I'm picking the Saints. Jags and Titans. I want to say that the Titans have already rested some players for the season. And for that reason, I think that the Jaguars go in on the road and get it done. Next up, we have the Birds versus the Birds. And that would be the Seahawks and the Cardinals. Cardinals played well this weekend. They've actually played well the last couple of weeks. This one is a tough one. And I'm going to try to stick to the narrative here that I don't care who's in the playoffs, and except for the Lions, obviously. So for that reason alone, I think I'm going to roll with the Cardinals. I don't think that they're going to lay down in this last game. And I mean, the Seahawks could edge them out, but I'm just going to roll it. I'm rolling the Cardinals here. Bears have been eliminated from the playoffs, as we know. So for that reason, I just don't think that there's much for them to do here. They might rest Fields. I don't see a reason to play him. And Green Bay gets the win at home. Chiefs and Chargers. Look, this is another toss-up. We just don't know what Chargers team is going to show up this week. And for that reason, we also don't know what Chiefs team is going to show up this week. Chiefs are hanging on to this 3rd seed right now. And quite honestly, I don't think they get it done. I think that they go on the road and they lose to the Chargers. Next up, we have the Broncos and the Raiders. Another great matchup because this is like the tale of two different teams. Again, we don't know if the Raiders defense is going to come alive. We don't know if the Broncos offense is going to come alive, but we do know this. Russell Wilson won't be playing. And for that reason, I think that Max Crosby has a great day, gets after the quarterback, and the Raiders get the win. The next game is Philly and New York. Look, New York's played, the Giants have played a couple of good games in the last few weeks, and they almost beat the Eagles not too long ago. So I think that at home with the at-home crowd and with the way that the Eagles have been playing poorly lately, I think the Giants notch this win. Next game is LA and San Francisco. This is another tough call because San Francisco has already, for the most part, locked up the 1 seed, right? So if they've got the 1 seed locked up, are they going to play players that, you know, shouldn't be playing and risk injury? There's a lot to be said here. I mean, there's two different, you know, coins on this. Some teams will say, I don't want my guys going into a slump, and injuries happen. It's part of the game. So if it happens, it happens. But I want my guys to be playing their best ball and not take, you know, what could be at least 2, almost 3 weeks off before they play their next game. If they don't play all this week, they don't play all next week, and they won't play the week after that. That's a long time off. So it's about 3 weeks off before they would play another game. So for that reason, I think San Francisco is going to keep some of their starters in this game, but I'm going to roll it here. I think that LA could pull it out if San Francisco rests more players than what I think that they're going to do. It's a tough play on the road in San Francisco, but I'm going to roll it. I'm going to roll it with the Rams. I think that Matt Stafford wants a chance to go beat up the Cowboys, and that's what we're going to roll with. Next game up is Cowboys at Washington. Look, Washington's had a couple of good games. I mean, they were hanging, you know, with San Francisco, and then they just couldn't get anything done in the second half. But this is the Cowboys we're talking about. The Lions just played them. They are not a good team. They get some lucky breaks. They clearly get some lucky calls and some blatant, you know, fixing calls, whatever you want to call it. I know. I got to move on. Washington gets it done. Washington beats the Cowboys at home. Final game of the season, the regular season, is the Bills and the Dolphins. Now, the Bills have been playing pretty well, but they are also another team that you just don't know who's going to show up. But the Dolphins have not been playing the greatest. They've still been winning games, but they haven't been playing the greatest. And for that reason, I mean, we've got Miami at the 2 seed and Buffalo at the 6 seed. If Miami wins, that drops Buffalo down to the 7th seed, and then they will match up again in the first round. So for that reason, I almost feel like Buffalo may want to lose this game. Not saying that they would intentionally do that, but when you play a team multiple times in a year, you would have a much better chance, you know, the second or third go around to beat them in the playoffs. If Buffalo wins, that puts Buffalo into the 2 seed, and then they go up against the Colts. And that's another reason why I feel like Buffalo's coming in hot, and they're going to want to take out the Dolphins this weekend. So I'm rolling the Bills on the road against the Dolphins. So what does that do for the Detroit Lions? As you can see, the Lions would be in the 2 seed. San Francisco obviously is in the 1 seed. And the Lions would take on Green Bay at home. This is a great matchup for the Lions. I think that they will handle the Green Bay Packers again, just like they did early in the season. I don't think that they would ever lose to them twice in the same season. If they did, it would be a catastrophic loss. There would be a lot of finger pointing. It would be a complete nightmare for Dan Campbell if that scenario played out. Now, what happens if the Cowboys win? Well, they swap spots, and then you get Matt Stafford coming home, you know, to the team that drafted him more than 12, 13 years ago, and you have an epic showdown of the quarterbacks. I mean, what a trade that Brad Holmes pulled off to send Matt Stafford to the Rams, and they win a Super Bowl. So I know the narrative has been out there. Derek talks about it a lot. He wants to see the Rams come back home to play the Lions. My fear is the defense. Now, the Lions have gone up against some good defenses, but if you let Aaron Donald get loose, I think that the Lions are going to have a much more difficult time beating the Rams than they are, you know, beating the Green Bay Packers. So for that reason, I'm really hoping that Washington gets it done. I don't care so much about the narrative, you know, as far as Stafford and Goff. I mean, I think it's a beautiful story. I think it'll be even a better story if the Lions win that game. But I think that's what we're looking at right now. It's either Green Bay or LA. You can pick your poison here. Green Bay's been playing pretty well as far as their defense. But I think that the Lions will just have too much firepower, and they are pissed off right now. And you don't want to play a team that's pissed off. And I feel like the Lions are feeling it right now. They want to, you know, just kick the crap out of anybody. I think that they would love to field a team of referees right now and just go at it. So that's your storyline. Let me do a couple other scenarios here. Let's say that the Eagles win over New York. It does not change Philly's outcome, so it doesn't matter if they win or lose. If San Francisco wins, then we do have a different scenario where the Lions will play the Green Bay Packers as the 6th seed and the Lions as the 3rd seed. Now, if Dallas ends up losing, then it puts the Lions right back with LA. So it's it's kind of odd that, I mean, we're going to be following each other depending on which team wins and loses. So there's a lot of movement happening. There's just not a lot of movement for the Lions. And that's because we can't get the 1 seed. It's over. It's done. But here's what I will say. You know, we can't let the last game bother us forever. Yes, we went in and we played well enough to win. The defense played good enough to win. They kept them under the magic number of 20, and we actually would have won by 1 point. So for that reason alone, the Lions did what they did. They did what they had to do, and they won the game. But let's go back a few weeks. We let the Packers come into our house and kick the crap out of us. We let the Bears beat us pretty badly. Those are 2 games that these Lions should have never lost. And we're talking a totally different story right now if we have one more win throughout the regular season. So let's not put it all, you know, in week 17, like it's just that game's fault that we're not, you know, headed to the 1 seed, because we had other business to take care of and we did it. And whether you want to blame AG in those games, I mean, it's up to you. For me, I feel like it's a personnel issue at times where maybe we just don't have enough guys right now that can play that upper level of football. And at times, I mean, our guys are playing really well and they're playing as well as they can be. But next season, man, do we have an opportunity to go up a couple of rungs? And what I mean by that is this is going to be Brad Holmes' 4th draft. He will finally be able to field all of his players. And no, I'm not just talking about the draft right now, but I am excited for the fact that this team is going to elevate big time this offseason. So for this scenario right now that we're looking at, I'm going to put an early prediction in for next season. Lions are going to be 14-3, and they will win the 1 seed next year. I don't think that anything else is going to happen other than that, unless something happens to Jared Goff. If the Lions do not retain Jared Goff, I don't think that the Lions go back to the playoffs next year. And I know that it's more than just one player, but I do feel like his relationship with his offense right now is as good as you're going to see in the NFL. Yes, everybody has bad games. But some of that has to fall on the coaching staff. Calling plays that shouldn't be called, getting cute with the ball. You just can't do that. You've got to protect it at all times, just like a boxer has to protect himself at all times. You have to protect the integrity of your offense by not putting them in a bad position. And I feel like Ben Johnson has done that a few times this season that has led to catastrophic turnovers. And you can blame it on Ben, you can blame it on Jared, you can blame it on the receiver. It doesn't matter. It happened. And I feel like those plays shouldn't happen. And that's just the cost of having a young team, young offensive coordinator. And those things will get cleaned up. We will see a different team next season. But I'm going to throw one more caution to the wind here, and that's if Ben Johnson is not back next season, we could be looking at a totally different team. And what I mean by that is who's going to step up and become our offensive coordinator? I know we've got a guy that is kind of training with Ben Johnson, you know, every single day, but is he going to be ready? The one thing I'm not worried about is if Dan Campbell goes back to calling plays, we'll be just fine. So whether Ben stays or goes, yes, we will be looking at a different type of, you know, offensive team, but I don't feel like the plays are going to change very much, if at all, because Dan Campbell is the one that was calling plays from the very beginning, and he was leading us to a top 5 offense. See if we can play another 4 or 5 games so we can make it to the Super Bowl. That would be incredible. I think that the Lions have done well. They've done everything that they've promised to us, to us last season, that all roads go through Detroit, that it's the NFC Championship or bust in 2023, and we're headed to the playoffs, and they did it. They delivered. So let's get behind them, and F the Cowboys. See you later. Peace. One pride.